If you think the Yellowstone is not fishable before runoff, well, you're leaving some really good fish on the table. Today we're breaking down exactly when it's worth your time, when you should absolutely stay home or switch rivers. Let's get into it. I'm Tim Suttles, your host, and this is your truck ride to the river. Today we're talking pre-runoff on the Yellowstone River, when it shines, when it doesn't, and how to approach it the right way. So let's talk about pre-runoff. What does it actually mean? Let's define it. Pre-runoff is not dirty chocolate milk water. It's not peak mud. There's a window where flows are starting to climb from their steady state over the winter. Clarity is starting to drop, but the river is still fishable. Now, when we look at the Yellowstone River over the winter, late summer months, those flows normally range 900 to 1200. As we start to get into the pre-runoff, you may start to see those numbers climb from the 1300s into the 25 and 3000 cubic feet per second. So let's talk time of year, because you're going to call me, you're going to say, Tim, I really want to come out. I want to fish the Yellowstone. I want to fish it pre-runoff. When do you need me out there? Usually we're talking late March into April. This year's been strange for sure. Not very much snow in the valley. Still got good snowpacks up high, but we'll see how pre-runoff treats us this year. But normally I would say late March into April, sometimes early May depending on the snowpack, but by late May into early June, we're in full swing of runoff and the river is just not fishable. Let's talk about some things that I look for that tell me when pre-runoff is officially here in the Paradise Valley. So I'm looking for a rising CFS. Maybe jot these numbers down. Think about these numbers when you're looking at the dashboard for the USGS, which I will post down below in the show notes so that you can look at these flow charts for the Yellowstone River. But remember these numbers: 1,000 to 2,500 CFS, 4,000 to 6,000 CFS, and greater than 6,000 CFS. 1 to 2 feet of visibility. My sweet spot, I like 8 to 24 inches, being that sweet spot that we'll discuss later. And a little bit of afternoon color change. Think a slight color change. We're not talking about mud here. We're just talking a little color to the water. And water temps that are creeping into the mid-40s. I think the biggest mistake that anglers make is thinking when pre-runoff starts, the river shuts down. It doesn't. Fish just reposition. So let's talk. Is it still worth fishing? This is the question I want you to ask throughout the podcast. Is it worth my time to come fishing? The short answer, yes, of course. Or why would I be spending time talking about it? But it has to be under the right conditions. What are those right conditions? Things I'm looking for, I want stable overnight temperatures. Those stable, little chilly overnight temperatures are going to hold that snowpack together. If I get a night where I get a big swing in temperatures overnight, I'm going to check the flows in the morning all the way up into the park to get an idea of how those flows are moving. A little bit of cloud cover. It's crazy to think about it, but small amounts of cloud cover will get some of those bigger fish to move out of the banks and feed because they feel safer from the predators. I know, doesn't make any sense. It's just clouds. But that little bit of overcast, you wouldn't believe how those fish move. And a gradual clarity loss. I'm not talking about overnight mud. And remember, we talked about before, we want 8 to 24 inch window. If I get to the river and I don't have at least 8 inches of clarity, I'm moving. I'm either going further downstream, checking a few more drop points, or I'm totally switching rivers. What I don't want overnight. These are the things that I'm really going to scrutinize in the morning if it's worth the trip. More than a 10-degree air temp spike overnight. Now, if you're talking about 20 degrees to now it's 30 degrees, that snowpack's going to hold together. It's when you're getting above freezing. So if overnight I was at 35 and now I'm at 45 in the morning, I'm going to check those flows. And what you're going to see is you look at those flow charts in pre-runoff. If you're moving towards runoff time, those spikes will start coming in the park and then they'll start moving down the river. Make no mistake though, if you can hit that pre-runoff window, it can be one of your better big fish windows for the spring. Less pressure from anglers and fun floaters. The fish are aggressive. They feel that spring coming. They know they need to stock up on calories for that runoff because they're going to have a month or so where they're fighting bigger currents. They need that energy. And you just have fewer boats on the river. So let's recap the 3 pillars I think matter the most to making or breaking your trip. Number 1 is visibility, 8 to 24 inches. Below 8 inches of visibility, I'm going to the house or I'm going to another river. Above 24 inches, that fish has plenty of time to track with his eyes and not use his lateral line as much. Below that 8 inches, he's relying mostly on that lateral line. Flow change. It's not a number. It's a speed of change. If you get a steady climb of CFS, those fish will adjust. If you get a sudden change of CFS, let's talk about a spike that moves from 5,000 to 8,000 overnight. Those fish will shut down. They're going to move into that extremely slow water if they can find it and not have to fight that chaos. Third thing, water temperature. Write it down, 42 to 48 degrees. That's your money window. Those degrees will let the snow melt slowly and help hold that snowpack together. Below 40, fishing can be pretty slow. It still might be okay, but the snow melt is also low, so your clarity is better. Above 50 and rising, you're close to losing it. The snowpack is going to melt. The mud is coming. All right, let's put on the guide hat. Where are we going to focus? Where are we fishing this river? Well, these fish are going to start to slide out of their heavy winter buckets. Think about your grandma driving down the interstate. She's not going to move to that middle lane and be in all that chaos. She's going to stay in the slow lane until she needs to exit, and then she's going to move out, exit as quickly as she can so that she can slow back down. Same thing with fishing. They're going to move out of that chaos into the slower water, move into the chaos to feed, back into the slow water as quickly as possible. So when I'm rowing, I'm looking for these things for my anglers. I want walking speed water, inside seams where the water kind of naturally slows down going into a turn. I want the soft edges off of the main current, and I really like that seam just off the fast water. If I can find that seam where fast water meets slow water, that's where I'm fishing. Drop-offs near slower banks. This will take some weight adjustment, and that causes your rig to have to be changed. And it can be fruitful if you have the right current to be able to work them slowly. If I'm passing by in a boat and I'm going mock chicken because the current's taking me and I don't have time to change weight, it's probably not worth it. But if I'm coming around the turn nice and slow, current slow, and I can really work that drop off, I'm gonna change weight. I'm gonna make it fruitful for my clients. Big fish especially don't want to fight that current this time of year. So think to yourself, am I fishing the same water that I fished in January for pre-runoff? If I am, you're probably doing it wrong. So let's talk about how I fish it. What's my go-to approach? We're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it manageable. I'm nymphing almost always. 2-fly rig, heavier than you think. For that point fly, I'm going to use some type of stone fly variation, maybe like a patch rubber leg style. For my dropper, I'm going to use a smaller mayfly profile, maybe like a Perdigon, maybe something with a little bit of subtle flash. But this time of year, don't take those midges for granted. Fish them hard until you start to get a water temp spike where you start to think, I wonder if those midges could start hatching, maybe switch over to a merger. And lastly, on your rig setup, you have to talk about depth. Honestly, sometimes I think it's more important than pattern. In the morning, if you're ticking the bottom occasionally, you're close to being in the right spot. But if you're not touching anything, you're too light, add some weight, or a heavier fly. But you need to be on the bottom. However you decide to add weight is totally up to you. You can use split, putty, add a fly, add a heavier fly, doesn't matter. I usually run my split 8 to 16 inches above the top fly, and if I need to add weight, I'll add it from there, or I'll add a heavier fly. One of the benefits of tying your own flies is you can tie them in multiple weights for the same pattern. So sometimes if I'm running a Pat's rubber legs, I've got in my box sectioned out by weight and by size. So if I need to go up in weight but keep the same size, I can just add weight by using that same size with more weight. We're all human, right? We can all make mistakes. So let's talk about some of the mistakes that I've seen on the river so that you don't make them also. Number one, fishing too fast. Slow down. When you think you're going about the right speed, slow down another notch. I don't think you can fish too slow, but you 100% can fish too fast. And if you're with a guide, don't worry. He or she will tell you to slow down. I usually tell my clients, man, you're really in love with casting, because they want to fish so fast that they're casting more than they're fishing. So slow down, get a good mend in there, let that drift go. Number two, not adjusting weight. As flows start to come up, you're going to have to adjust the rate. Use a method that allows you to put on and take off weight as you need to as those flows start to rise. Now, more than likely, if your flows are starting to rise throughout the day, they're not going to come back down. So you'll be able to add that weight and leave it, but stay flexible with the weight. Number three, quitting at noon when the water colors up. And here I'm talking about a slight color change. We're not talking about 4 inches of clarity. I'm talking about something that's noticeable, but not obvious. Sometimes that color push can actually turn the fish on and make the bite. And last but not least, the one that I think is the biggest is fishing where it looks good, not where it actually makes sense for the conditions. Think about it. Ask yourself, is this walking speed water? If you're fishing the fastest current in the river and wondering why you're not catching fish, throw it into the slow stuff and see what happens. So let's wrap this up. I'm going to paint you a picture. If I had one day to fish pre-runoff on the Yellowstone, here's what I'm doing. I'm launching mid-morning. I'm going to let those temperatures climb just slightly. I think you get better bug activity. I'm going to focus on inside structure early. Be willing to change my weight as the flows change on the river. I'm going to stay committed to slower walking speed water. I know I've said it a million times, but I believe in it. Walking speed water. Try to have medium to longer drifts with controlled presentation. I don't think in the higher flows the presentation is that important, but it's always good to practice controlled presentation so that when you need it, you have it. And I'm watching clarity every single hour. If it drops under 8 inches, I'm pulling the plug. I'm heading home. So there you have it. Pre-runoff Yellowstone River. It's not about hero cast. It's about strategic adjustment to your setup and staying flexible. If this helped you dial in your Yellowstone plan, make sure you follow Cast West Radio so you don't miss the next one. Next week, we're talking pre-runoff, the Madison River out of Ennis, Montana. When it shines and when it absolutely doesn't. But until next time, Cast West, live free.